The signal came from beyond Jupiter. It was clear, deliberate, and definitely not human. Commander Edward Miller stared at the readings on the bridge of the U.S. horizon, his heart racing as he realized what they had found. "Send this to Earth immediately," he ordered, his voice steady despite his excitement. "And wake the science team." That was 10 years ago. Now Miller walked through the gleaming halls of Harmony Station, Earth's first embassy among the stars. Around him, beings of all shapes and sizes moved with purpose. Some had blue skin, others had 4 arms, and a few seemed to float rather than walk. Miller still found it hard to believe sometimes. In a large meeting room, Ambassador Lisa Warren was finishing her latest report to the Earth Alliance Council. The dark-haired diplomat had been Earth's voice to the galaxy for 8 years now. "Our position in the Galactic Council remains probationary," Warren explained to the screens showing government officials back on Earth. "But I believe we are making progress. 3 more trade agreements were signed this month." "And what about the defense limitations?" asked a general on one of the screens. Warren sighed. "They remain firm on that point. No human fleet is to exceed 50 ships, and our weaponry must remain at the approved energy levels." The general frowned but said nothing. After the meeting, Warren met Miller in her office. Large windows showed the curved edge of the massive space station, with stars shining beyond. "How was your patrol?" she asked, pouring coffee for them both. Miller shrugged. "Quiet. The Redalians still watch us closely. 2 of their ships followed us the entire time." "They're cautious by nature," Warren said. "Most species here are. They've had peace for centuries until we showed up." Miller laughed. "Peace. From what I hear, they just call their wars regulatory actions instead." Warren didn't smile. "You should be careful what you say, Ed. The Council has ears everywhere." On the other side of the station, in chambers few humans had seen, 6 alien representatives sat around a table. Councillor Vrextel, tall and gray-skinned with large, unblinking eyes, stood to address the others. "The human problem grows," he said. "Their colony on Proxima Centauri has doubled in size this year. They breed quickly. They adapt too fast. They have followed all regulations," said Zenthar, a Valoran with shimmering, scale-like skin. "Their ambassador works hard to ensure compliance." Vrextel made a clicking sound of disagreement. "You have not studied their history as I have. Humans fight wars constantly. They develop weapons when they should be developing medicine. Even their entertainment glorifies conflict." "What do you suggest?" asked another counselor. "We must act before they spread further," Vrextel said. "The directive is already prepared. We will limit their expansion, restrict their technology growth, and slowly reduce their presence in council space." "And if they resist?" Zenthar asked. Vrextal's mouth stretched in what might have been a smile. "They cannot resist what they do not know is happening. By the time they realize, it will be too late." Back on Earth, people went about their daily lives. In schools, children learned about the 17 known intelligent species. In laboratories, scientists studied alien technologies that had been shared. In homes, families watched news reports about the new human colony being established on a distant world. And deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility known to only a few hundred people, Director Nathan Harris reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Something wasn't right about the Council's recent behaviors. Harris had fought to create this secret monitoring program despite opposition from those who thought it wasteful to be suspicious of their new alien friends. "Sir," said his assistant, walking into the room, "we've detected unusual communication patterns between Council ships near Saturn." Harris nodded. "Keep tracking them, and activate our deep cover agents on Harmony Station. Tell them to look for anything unusual." Harris looked at the map of known space on his wall. Humanity had come so far in just 10 years. He hoped they hadn't moved too fast for their own good. Ambassador Lisa Warren walked through the grand hallway of the Galactic Council's central chamber. Giant pillars of shimmering crystal rose to the ceiling hundreds of feet above. Representatives from over 50 species moved around her, some nodding in greeting, others deliberately turning away. Something felt wrong today. The usual buzz of diplomatic activity had a tense edge to it. Twice she had entered rooms where conversations suddenly stopped. Warren found her ally, Zenthar, standing near a viewport that showed the massive space station orbiting a ringed gas giant. "Ambassador," Zenthar said, his scales rippling with color. "I hope to find you before the session." "What's happening?" Warren asked quietly. "Everyone is acting strangely." Zenthar's scales darkened, a sign of distress. "There is a closed council meeting happening now. Humans were not invited." Warren frowned. "That's against protocol. We may be probationary members, but we have observer rights to all sessions." Vrextol called it a security exception, Zenthar said. "I must return before I am missed. Be careful, my friend." As Zenthar hurried away, Warren tapped her communication badge. "Get me secure access to our system. Something's happening." She found an empty meeting room and locked the door. Using her diplomatic override codes, she accessed the Council's network. Years of experience had taught her how to navigate the alien systems. Within minutes, she found a recently locked file marked Human Containment Directive. Her hands trembled as she read the document. The Council had secretly voted to limit human expansion, prevent technological development, and slowly push humanity back to Earth. The document called humans dangerously unpredictable and a threat to galactic stability. The final paragraph made her blood run cold. Effective immediately. Earth is under quarantine. All human vessels are to return to Sol system. Those who resist will be considered hostile. Warren tried to contact Earth, but her signal was blocked. She tried emergency channels. Nothing worked. In orbit around a distant mining planet, Captain William Hayes received the Council's message on his ship, the U.S. Dauntless. "This makes no sense," he said to his crew. "They can't just order every human ship back to Earth." His communications officer looked up from her station. "Sir, we're detecting multiple Council vessels approaching. They're charging weapons." Hayes stood. "Open a channel. Tell them we're a peaceful trading vessel." "They're not responding, sir," the officer said. "They're locking weapons on us." "Shields up," Hayes ordered. "We're not starting a war, but I won't go down without." The first blast hit the Dauntless before Hayes could finish. The Council ships, larger and more advanced, surrounded the human vessel. Within minutes, the Dauntless was reduced to floating debris. There were no survivors. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Human ships were ordered to return to Earth. Those who questioned the order or tried to help stranded humans were destroyed. On Proxima VI, the largest human mining colony outside the Sol system, Colonel Samantha Powell watched in horror as Council ships took position above the planet. "They're cutting off all communication with Earth," reported her lieutenant. "The civilian transports in orbit are being turned back." "How many people do we have on this planet?" Powell asked. "About 3,000, ma'am. Mostly miners and engineers, with families." Powell's face hardened. "Get everyone to the emergency bunkers. If they want to trap us here, fine. But we won't make it easy for them." Back on the Council station, Warren had slipped away from the diplomatic quarters. Using service corridors and her knowledge of the station's layout, she made her way to the communication hub. She needed to warn Earth before it was too late. A tall figure stepped from the shadows, blocking her path. Vrextol stood there, flanked by Council security officers. "Ambassador Warren," he said, "I'm afraid your credentials have been revoked. You are no longer welcome in Council space." "This is against all our agreements," Warren said. "Earth will not accept this quarantine." Vrextol made a sound like dry leaves rustling. "Earth has no choice. The decision is made. Your species had such potential, but you are too dangerous to be allowed free access to the stars." "You've made a terrible mistake," Warren said as the guards moved toward her. "Humanity will not be contained." Vrextol's large eyes blinked slowly. We'll see about that. Colonel Samantha Powell wiped the sweat from her forehead as she descended into the deep mines of Proxima Vi. The air was hot and filled with dust. Behind her walked George Blackwell, the colony's chief engineer, a stocky man with calloused hands and a mind sharper than most computers. "This section hasn't been used in years," Blackwell said, pointing to old mining equipment. "The council inspectors never come down here. Too uncomfortable for their delicate bodies." "Perfect," Powell said. "Show me what you've done." Blackwell led her to what appeared to be a broken drill machine. He pressed a hidden panel, and the front section slid away, revealing a small room filled with communication equipment. "I've modified the mining sensors," he explained. "They send signals through the planet's magnetic field. The council ships can't detect them." Powell nodded, impressed. "How far can they reach?" "Right now, about 2 light years. But I'm working on boosting the signal. With more power, we could reach other human colonies." "Do it," Powell ordered. "We need to find out how many of us are stranded and where." 3 weeks had passed since the quarantine began. On Earth, panic had turned to anger as the truth became clear. The council ships formed a blockade around the entire solar system. No ships could leave, and the few that tried were either forced back or destroyed. Director Nathan Harris stood in the underground command center, looking at reports from across Earth. The planet's unified government had declared an emergency. Military forces were on high alert. "What about our deep space stations?" Harris asked his staff. "We've lost contact with most of them," a young officer replied. "The council is jamming our long-range communications." Harris pointed to a map showing strange structures built near major cities. "What about these council aid facilities?" "They claim they're providing humanitarian assistance for the transition," the officer said. "But our scans show unusual energy signatures. They might be monitoring stations, or worse." Harris frowned. "I want teams at every one of those facilities. Don't approach them yet, but watch everything that goes in or out." The door opened, and a security officer entered. "Sir, we've received a message on an old emergency channel. It's from Colonel Powell on Proxima Vi." Harris's eyes widened. "Put it through." The message was broken and static-filled, but clear enough. Earth command. Isolated but intact. Building network. Other colonies responding. Preparing resistance. Need instructions. For the first time in weeks, Harris smiled. "Send back. Hold position. Gather intelligence. You are not alone." On a luxury space cruise ship now stranded at a remote outpost, Ambassador Warren sat in a small cabin that had become her prison. The council guards watched her constantly, but they had underestimated her. Years of diplomatic service had taught her patience and observation. She had noticed that one guard, a junior officer from a species called the Meldari, seemed uncomfortable with his orders. Today, when he brought her meal, she made her move. "Your people were once treated as the humans are now, weren't they?" she asked quietly. The guard stiffened but said nothing. "I studied galactic history," Warren continued. 300 years ago, the Meldari were quarantined for aggressive tendencies. Now you serve the very council that once contained you." "That was different." The guard finally spoke. "My ancestors were violent." "Were they? Or did they simply refuse to bow to council demands?" Warren leaned forward. "I need to contact my people. Just one message." The guard looked at the door, hesitating. "They will know it was me." "Not if we're careful," Warren said. "Please, thousands of innocent people are stranded, separated from their families." Later that night, the guard returned with a small communication device. "One message," he said. "Make it quick." Warren sent coordinates to Earth, the location of a secret council archive she had learned about during her years as ambassador. If Harris could access those files, humanity would know exactly what the council was planning. Across 12 star systems, isolated humans began to connect. Mining colonies, research stations, and stranded ships established Blackwell's hidden communication network. Some had food for only a few more weeks. Others had weapons but no way to use them effectively against superior Council technology. Colonel Powell addressed them all from her underground command post. "We are scattered, but not defeated. Earth has not abandoned us. Until help comes, we will survive. We will watch. We will gather intelligence. And when the time comes, we will show the Council that humanity will not be contained." As she spoke, engineers like Blackwell were already adapting mining equipment into makeshift weapons. Scientists were studying captured Council technology, and scouts were mapping Council patrol routes, finding the gaps in their seemingly perfect blockade. The resistance had begun. Dr. Olivia Martinez adjusted her formal Council robes as she walked through the gleaming halls of the Galactic High Court. The tall, curved walls made her feel small, which was exactly what the Council architects had intended. Beside her walked Zenfar, his scales now a calm blue color that showed his determination. "Are you certain about this?" Zenfar asked quietly. "The court rarely reverses Council decisions." "I have to try," Martine said. "We have gathered evidence from 17 systems showing the Council violated its own laws." For 2 months, Martinez had led a group of humans who believed in solving this crisis through legal means. While Colonel Powell built a resistance and Director Harris prepared Earth's defenses, Martinez had worked within the system. She had collected testimonies from humans who were detained without cause, evidence of Council ships firing on unarmed vessels, and records of Council members ignoring their own rules. The court chamber was enormous, with seats for thousands of spectators. Today, only a few dozen were present, mostly Council officials and their staff. 5 judges sat on high benches, looking down at Martinez with expressions ranging from boredom to open hostility. "Present your case," the chief judge said. Martinez stepped forward. "Honored judges, I present evidence that the quarantine of humanity violates Articles 7, 12, and 15 of the Council Charter. No species may be contained without a formal hearing. No civilian vessels may be fired upon without direct provocation. No diplomatic representatives may be detained without formal charges." She displayed images on the large court screens. Destroyed human ships, detained ambassadors, families separated by the sudden quarantine. The judges watched without visible emotion. When Martinez finished, the chief judge spoke. "The Council has declared a security emergency. During such times, the Charter allows for exceptional measures." "But there was no emergency," Martinez argued. "Humanity posed no threat. We followed every rule." The chief judge waved his hand dismissively. "The court finds no violation of Council law. The quarantine stands. This hearing is concluded." As guards escorted Martinez and Zenfar from the chamber, a small Council member approached them in the hallway. The alien's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of nervousness. "Dr. Martinez," the alien whispered, "not all Council members agree with this action. Some of us are questioning the quarantine in private." "Then speak up publicly," Martinez said. "We cannot." "Not yet." The alien pressed a small data drive into her hand. "But we can share information. This shows the location of a research facility near the Epsilon system. The Council is doing something there that violates our deepest principles." Before Martinez could ask more questions, the alien hurried away, disappearing into a crowd of Council officials. Later, in Zenthar's private quarters, they examined the data. The information showed a heavily guarded facility where the Council was conducting experiments on captured humans. "They're collecting genetic material," Zenthar said, his scales turning a dark purple color of disgust. "The Altarians are trying to develop biological weapons that target humans specifically." Martinez felt cold fear grip her heart. "We need to get this information to Earth immediately." "All legal communications are monitored," Zenfar warned. "Then we'll use illegal ones," Martinez said. "I still have contacts in the Resistance." On Proxima VI, Colonel Powell received the encrypted message from Martinez. She called her senior officers to the underground command center. Among them was George Blackwell, who had expanded the hidden communication network to reach most human outposts. "The Council isn't just containing us," Powell explained, showing them the data from Martinez. "They're preparing to eliminate us entirely." "We've suspected this," said Blackwell. "Our scouts have reported increased Council activity around several research stations." Powell pointed to a map of nearby systems. "We need to get a team into that facility. If they're developing biological weapons, we need samples as evidence. It's heavily guarded," a security officer warned. "Then we'll need a distraction," Powell said. "Blackwell, how are the modified mining ships coming along?" Blackwell smiled. 6 are ready. They look like standard mining vessels, but they're armed with weapons the Council won't detect until it's too late." Powell nodded. "Good. We'll launch in 3 days. Select your best people for the infiltration team." As the meeting ended, Powell sent an encrypted message to Earth. "Confirmed Council bioweapons research targeting humans. Planning operation to gather evidence. Standing by for coordination." On Earth, Director Harris received the message. He turned to his staff. "It's time to activate Project Thunderbolt. The Council has crossed a line we cannot ignore." His second-in-command looked shocked. "Are you sure, sir? Once we launch Thunderbolt, there's no going back." Harris nodded grimly. "They're developing weapons to wipe us out. We have no choice. Send the activation codes." Deep beneath the oceans and hidden in asteroid bases, secret human weapons platforms began powering up for the first time. The Council had no idea what was coming. The sky above Earth turned an eerie green as the Council ships moved into position. For weeks, the blockade had simply prevented ships from leaving. Now, something new was happening. In his underground command center, Director Harris watched the screens with growing alarm. "What are they doing?" he asked his science officer. "They're deploying some kind of energy field," she replied, her voice tight with worry. "It's like nothing we've seen before." On the main screen, they watched as a wave of green energy spread from the Council ships, expanding until it covered the entire planet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the reports started coming in. "Sir, we're losing power in major cities," an officer called out. "Communications are going down. Transportation systems are failing." Harris grabbed a secure phone. "Get me the president." Across Earth, chaos spread as quickly as the green energy field. Hospitals lost power, their backup generators failing. Planes lost control systems and had to make emergency landings. Cars stopped in the middle of highways. Cell phones went silent. In a hospital in Chicago, doctors worked frantically by flashlight to keep life support systems running for critical patients. In New York, thousands were trapped in subway tunnels. In every city, panic grew as people realized how dependent they were on the technology that had suddenly failed. The death toll climbed quickly. 4,000 in the first hour, 10,000 by the end of the day. Earth's leaders sent urgent messages to the Council ships, demanding to know what was happening. The Council's response was cold. "A pacification field has been deployed. It will remain until humanity accepts its proper place in the galactic order." When Earth's military tried to launch defensive measures, the Council responded with force. Kinetic weapons, simple metal rods dropped from orbit, destroyed key military bases around the world. The Council claimed they were responding to aggressive actions, but the attacks had been planned well in advance. On Proxima VI, Colonel Powell watched the reports from Earth with horror. She had been preparing to launch her operation against the Council's bioweapon facility when the news arrived. "They've crossed the final line," she said to her officers. "This is no longer about containment. This is extermination." Blackwell entered the command center, his face grim. "We intercepted a Council transmission. I think you need to hear this." He played the recording. It was Vrextel speaking to other Council leaders. "The pacification field is working as planned. Within weeks, human society will collapse. They will turn on each other as resources grow scarce. When we lift the field, they will be desperate, willing to accept any terms we offer. We can then begin the process of reducing their population to manageable levels and harvesting their genetic material as needed. The human problem will be solved permanently." Silence filled the room as the recording ended. Every human present understood what this meant. The Council didn't want peace or compliance. They wanted to break humanity, to turn them into little more than cattle. "Send this to every human settlement," Powell ordered. "And to Earth, if you can get through the jamming. Everyone needs to know what we're really facing." She turned to her officers. "Our plans have changed. We're not just gathering evidence anymore. We're at war." On Earth, despite the spreading chaos, Director Harris had managed to maintain contact with key military leaders. Most of Earth's conventional defenses had been destroyed by the Council's attacks, but Project Thunderbolt remained undetected. In a secure bunker, Harris met with the President and Joint Chiefs. "The Council thinks they've crippled us," Harris said. "They don't realize we've been preparing for this possibility since first contact." He activated a holographic display showing hidden bases throughout the solar system. "After we detected the Council's early interest in controlling us, we began building these ships, weapons, and defense systems that used no technology the Council can detect. We've been studying their weaknesses while pretending to be more primitive than we are." The President looked at the display with newfound hope. "How long until we can launch a counteroffensive?" "The fleet is ready now," Harris said. "We just need your authorization." As green energy continued to swirl above Earth's atmosphere, and more people died by the hour, the President nodded slowly. "The Council wanted to see humanity's fury," she said. "Now they will." She signed the authorization, and deep in the asteroid belt, hidden shipyards began to stir with activity. The hidden fleet of Earth was about to reveal itself. The Council commander on patrol near Jupiter was the first to notice something strange. His sensors detected movement in the asteroid belt, but when he sent probes to investigate, they found nothing. "Sensor malfunction," he reported to his superiors. "No signs of human activity." He was wrong. Hidden in the shadows of the asteroids, a fleet of ships unlike any the Council had seen before was on the move. Their hulls absorbed scanner beams instead of reflecting them. Their engines left no energy trail. They moved like ghosts through the solar system. Captain Diana Foster stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Defiance. She was tall and focused, with gray streaks in her dark hair from 20 years of military service. "All ships report ready," her first officer said. Foster nodded. "Begin Operation Thunderbolt. Priority targets first." Across the solar system, human ships emerged from hiding places the Council never discovered. Some rose from beneath the clouds of Jupiter, where they had been stationed for years. Others came from tunnels deep in the moons of Saturn. The largest group emerged from the asteroid belt, moving with surprising speed for their size. The Council ships noticed them only when it was too late. The human vessels used weapons that the Council's defensive systems couldn't detect or block. The first wave of attacks disabled the Council's communication relays, cutting off their ability to call for help. The second wave targeted the ships generating the pacification field around Earth. As those ships went dark, the green energy field flickered and died. Across Earth, power systems began to come back online. Council Commander Vrextall watched in shock from his flagship as reports of attacks came from throughout the solar system. "Impossible," he said as another Council ship went dark. "Their technology is primitive. They have no weapons that can harm our vessels." His tactical officer looked up from a screen. "Sir, they're not using energy weapons like we expected. They're using physical projectiles at extremely high speeds and directed electromagnetic pulses. Our shields aren't designed to stop them." Vrextall slammed his fist onto a console. "Launch all fighters. Destroy those human ships." But the Council fighters found the human ships difficult to target. The vessels moved in patterns that made no sense to the Council's tactical computers. The humans seemed to be making decisions that were completely illogical, yet they worked. On Proxima VI, Colonel Powell launched her own attack. The 6 modified mining ships blasted out of the planet's atmosphere, heading straight for the Council blockade. Mining vessels approaching, a Council officer reported. Unarmed transport ships, no threat. The Council ships allowed the mining vessels to approach. Then, at the last moment, the vessels opened hidden compartments, revealing weapons Blackwell and his engineers had built from mining equipment. The Council ships, caught by surprise, could not raise shields in time. 3 were disabled in the first volley. The others moved to respond. But the mining ships split up, using the planet's moons as cover, striking and then disappearing. Back on Earth, Director Harris coordinated the global response as cities regained power. Military bases that the Council thought destroyed had merely been hidden under holographic projections showing rubble. Now they launched aircraft and ground forces to secure the Council aid facilities that were actually monitoring stations. Inside those stations, Earth forces found disturbing evidence. The Council had been mapping human genetic patterns, testing disease strains, and studying Earth's water supply for ways to introduce control chemicals. The facilities weren't just for monitoring. They were advanced bases for invasion. In orbit, Captain Foster's fleet had cleared most of the Council ships from Earth's immediate vicinity. Now she targeted the Council's main command vessel, where Vrextall was desperately trying to reorganize his forces. "Bring us alongside," Foster ordered. "Disable their engines and weapons, but leave life support intact. We want prisoners, not martyrs." Her tactical officer looked surprised. "We could destroy them completely after what they did to Earth." Foster nodded grimly. "We could, but we're not like them. We'll show the galaxy the difference between human fury and human justice." The Defiance moved into position, firing precision strikes that disabled the Council flagship without destroying it. Council crew members braced for death, but instead received a transmission. "Council vessel, this is Captain Diana Foster of Earth Defense Fleet. Your ship is disabled. Surrender and you will be treated according to galactic laws, the same laws you ignored when attacking us. This is the only warning you will receive." On the Council flagship, Vrextall looked at his officers, who were awaiting his command. For the first time in his long life, the Altarian felt something new: fear of humans. "Send our surrender," he said quietly. "The Council has made a terrible miscalculation." News of the human counterattack spread across the galaxy faster than the Council could contain it. On hundreds of worlds, beams of all species watched recordings of Earth ships defeating the supposedly invincible Council fleet. The images of the green pacification field over Earth, followed by scenes of human suffering, then the surprising human response, created a wave of sympathy for humanity. On the Valoran homeworld, Admiral Zenthar addressed his planet's leadership council. His scales shimmered with conviction as he spoke. "The Council has violated its own founding principles," he said. "They attacked a species without provocation, caused thousands of civilian deaths, and planned genetic warfare. As Valorans, we cannot support these actions." The Valoran leaders murmured among themselves. Their species had always been loyal Council members, but they valued honor and justice above political alliances. "What do you propose?" asked the Valoran Prime Speaker. "I request permission to take the Third Fleet and aid the humans," Zenthar said. "Not to attack the Council, but to prevent further bloodshed and push for peace talks." After a brief debate, the Prime Speaker nodded. "Permission granted. The Valoran fleet will stand for justice, as we always have." Throughout the galaxy, other species made similar choices. The Meldari, remembering their own history of being controlled by the Council, declared neutrality and opened their ports to human refugees. The Trilaxians, a species known for their logical thinking, publicly questioned the Council's actions and demanded an investigation. Most surprising was the rebellion of the Dravani, a species that had been Council servants for centuries. They had been watching humans closely since first contact and had come to admire their creativity and resilience. When ordered to fight against humans, entire Dravani battle groups refused. On the main Council station, The remaining council leaders met in emergency session. Half the seats were empty, either because those representatives had been captured in the human counterattack or because their species had withdrawn from the council in protest. "This is unprecedented," said one council member. "3 major species have broken away. 5 others are demanding reform. The council is falling apart." "It is the humans," said another. "They have infected other species with their rebellious nature." A new voice spoke from the chamber entrance. "No, you did this yourselves." All heads turned to see Ambassador Lisa Warren walking into the chamber, flanked by Valoran guards. She had been rescued from detention when Xanthar's fleet broke away from council control. "Ambassador Warren," the acting council leader said nervously, "we were just discussing a peaceful resolution to this unfortunate conflict." Warren's expression showed she didn't believe him. "I have just come from meeting with representatives of 17 species. They have formed a new alliance, the Galactic Confederation. This new body will replace the council." "You have no authority," the council leader began. Warren cut him off. "I speak with the authority of Earth and its allies, but also with this." She activated a device that projected images throughout the chamber, evidence of the council's illegal actions, their plans for controlling or eliminating other species, their violations of their own laws. "These records were in your own secure archives," Warren explained. "They show the council has been manipulating and controlling member species for centuries. Humanity was just the latest target." The council members watched in horror as their secrets were exposed. "The Confederation fleet will arrive at this station in 6 hours," Warren continued. "You have until then to surrender peacefully or face the consequences." Near Ta City, Captain Foster's ship rendezvoused with Admiral Xanthar's Valoran fleet. Together with vessels from other defecting species, they formed the largest combined fleet the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years. "It's an honor to fight alongside you," Xanthar said during their first strategy meeting. "We prefer not to fight at all," Foster replied. "But we will if necessary to secure a lasting peace." Together, they planned the approach to the Council's main station. Human tactical experts worked with Valoran navigators and Tralaxian analysts. Species that had never cooperated were now united by a common purpose. As the combined fleet prepared to jump to their target, Foster received a message from Earth. Director Harris had convinced the world's governments to offer terms for peace. Despite the thousands of human dead, Earth was willing to move forward without revenge. But only if the council system was reformed completely. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the council station." On the main screen appeared a familiar face. Vrextal himself, looking defeated. "Captain Foster," he said, his voice lacking its usual arrogance. "The council requests to discuss terms of surrender." The peace conference took place on neutral ground, a beautiful garden world called Harmony that had never been aligned with the council. Representatives from 53 species gathered in a great outdoor amphitheater surrounded by towering blue trees and colorful flowers. Captain Foster stood with Ambassador Warren and Colonel Powell as they watched ships arrive from across the galaxy. A month had passed since the Battle of Ta City, where the combined human-alien fleet had accepted the Council's surrender without firing a shot. "Did you ever think we'd end up here when you found that first signal near Jupiter?" Warren asked Commander Miller, who had joined them for the historic occasion. Miller shook his head. "I thought we'd make some interesting friends. I never expected we'd help remake the galaxy." The ceremony began at midday. The leaders of the former council species sat on one side of the arena. The representatives of Earth and the newly formed Confederation sat on the other. Between them stood a simple table with a peace document. Director Harris spoke first, representing Earth. His voice carried across the silent crowd. "We gather to end one chapter in galactic history and begin another. Humanity did not seek conflict. We sought friendship, trade, and knowledge. When betrayed, we defended ourselves. Now we seek a just peace that ensures no species will face what we faced." Former council leader Vrextal spoke next, His once proud posture was now humbled. We believed we were protecting the galaxy by controlling those we saw as dangerous. We were wrong. Our fear of difference led us to commit terrible acts. On behalf of the former council races, I offer our sincere apology and our commitment to the new way forward. The peace terms were simple but profound. The old council was dissolved. In its place would stand the Galactic Confederation, an alliance of equals where no species could impose its will on others. Military forces would be limited but shared for common defense. Technology would be exchanged freely, and any species that wished to join would be welcome, regardless of their development level. As a symbol of this new beginning, Colonel Samantha Powell was named the first human to serve on the Confederation's Security Council. Her experience leading the resistance made her perfect for helping protect the new alliance. "I accept this role with humility," Powell said when introduced. "The resistance showed me that strength comes not from weapons or technology, but from cooperation and trust. Those are the foundations we will build upon." The former council species were not punished. Instead, they were integrated into the new order, with safeguards to prevent any from gaining too much power again. Many of their scientists now worked alongside humans, sharing knowledge that had been restricted before. George Blackwell, whose mining equipment had been turned into weapons, now led a team designing new communication systems for the Confederation. Dr. Martinez headed a legal committee to write laws protecting all species' rights, and Admiral Zenithar worked closely with Captain Foster to create a balanced defense force. After the signing ceremony, a celebration filled the amphitheater. Species that had been enemies now shared food, drink, and stories. Music from a dozen worlds blended together under the stars. Ambassador Warren found a quiet spot away from the crowds. She looked up at the night sky, seeing stars that now represented opportunity rather than danger. Director Harris joined her. "Thinking about the cost?" he asked. Warren nodded. "So many died before we reached this point. But many more will live better lives because of what happened," Harris said. "The galaxy needed to change. It's sad that it took a war to make it happen." "Do you think it will last?" Warren asked. Harris smiled slightly. "Nothing lasts forever, but this has a good chance. Everyone saw what humans are capable of when pushed too far. No one will cross that line again easily." A group of alien children ran past, playing with human children who had come with their families for the ceremony. They laughed together, unconcerned about their differences. "That's the real victory," Warren said, watching them. "Not the battles we won, but the peace they'll inherit." As the celebration continued into the night, news traveled to every corner of the galaxy. The story spread of how humanity had been pushed too far, how their fury had exploded when the line was crossed, but also how they had chosen justice over vengeance when victory was theirs. Throughout the stars, a new understanding grew. Humans were indeed dangerous when threatened, but they were even more valuable as allies. And the line that should never be crossed with humanity was now clear to all.